Deeply immersed in the scorching aerial dogfights of the Pacific Theater, Lieutenant Kenneth Walsh and his squadron faced a daunting challenge as they were abruptly introduced to the Vought F4U Corsair. With an innovative inverted gull-wing design, this brand-new aircraft was capable of reaching speeds of 400 miles per hour and promised unparalleled aerial superiority. However, the pilots had little time to familiarize themselves with these advanced fighters or the strategic landscape before being thrust into combat. Their first mission was to escort B-24 bombers over Bougainville Island in the Solomons, forcing them to learn the intricacies of their Corsairs amidst the chaos of battle. This steep learning curve quickly revealed a deadly flaw in the aircraft, a lethal asymmetric stall. This peril, known as the Killer Corsair syndrome, emerged during landing approaches. Without warning, the left wing could drop, plunging the aircraft into a lethal spin. Many pilots, including aces like Walsh, had to contend with both enemy fighters and their own aircraft trying to kill them. It was not a relationship that began well. Yet, despite these harrowing challenges, pilots and Vaught's engineers worked tirelessly to overcome the Corsair's shortcomings. The pilots fought to adapt to the aircraft's quirks, leveraging its strengths in combat, while engineers sought solutions to its design flaws. Over time, Walsh and his squadron grew to respect and trust their Corsairs, understanding the balance between its potential risks and remarkable capabilities. This bond was tested on August 30th, 1943, when Walsh, flying alone, faced off against 50 Japanese fighters. Japan would soon come to start calling this airplane the Whistling Death. As the world teetered on the brink of an unparalleled global conflict, the US Navy Bureau of Aeronautics in 1938 started the hunt for cutting-edge fighter aircraft to redefine air combat. Vought stepped up with a new design built around the powerhouse Pratt & Whitney R2000 800 double Wasp engine. They coupled this beast of an engine with a gargantuan 13-foot 4-inch propeller, outclassing its rivals and prepping for a surge in aerial velocity. This massive propeller, however, came with a catch, maintaining enough ground clearance without weakening the plane's frame. Vaught's flash of brilliance, the distinctive inverted gull wings, was the answer. These unique wings dipped near the plane's body, making room for the large propeller, then arched up at the tips, ensuring sturdy and compact landing gear. The design wasn't just a practical fix, it revolutionized the look and performance of fighter aircraft. The Corsair's gull wings allowed it to exploit the Pratt & Whitney engine's sheer speed, marking a pivotal shift in fighter design. The US Navy quickly caught wind of Vaught's innovations, awarding a prototype contract by June 1938. The design's potential led to outsourcing production contracts to Goodyear and Brewster for the Corsair FG and F3A models, highlighting its adaptability. When the first prototype soared on May 29, 1940, it was more than a test flight. It was a testament to the Corsair's capabilities. By October, the XF4U1 prototype blew past the 400 miles per hour mark, hitting an average of 405 miles per hour between Stratford and Hartford, Connecticut. This breakthrough not only ushered in a new chapter in American aerial might, but also signaled the Corsair's crucial role in World War II, despite the challenges ahead. As World War II engulfed Europe, the US Navy found itself in a tight spot, needing an even more rapid overhaul of its firepower in the air. Vought responded by supercharging their new prototypes with 6.50 caliber machine guns mounted in the wings. This armament boost came at a cost, the removal of the wing fuel tanks, necessitating a larger fuselage tank and shifting the cockpit 36 inches back. These continuous modifications delayed the debut of this promising aircraft, setting 1942 as the year the Corsair would undergo its baptism by fire. Carrier landing trials. The Corsair's initial carrier landing tests in autumn 1942 were a debacle. Lieutenant Commander Sam Porter piloted the Navy's bent-wing Bird off the USS Sangamon in the Chesapeake Bay. After 4 perilous attempts, he aborted, feeling the aircraft nearly cost him his life. With its cockpit pushed back, Porter had trouble seeing the Sangamon's landing signal officer. The Corsair's extended hose nose drastically reduced his visibility, making it hard to follow crucial landing cues. Each landing saw the Corsair's shock-absorbing struts bottom out, bouncing like pogo sticks and skipping over the arrest wires. A disaster in waiting had other planes been on deck. But it wasn't just visibility issues or the deck bouncing that alarmed Porter. It was the Corsair's behavior at the crucial moment before landing. As it slowed for touchdown, the left wing would unexpectedly drop, causing a dangerous roll to port. Porter knew this posed a fatal risk, especially to inexperienced pilots. In a panic, they might slam the throttle to escape, but the massive torque from the R2800 engine and its giant propeller would only make things worse, potentially flipping the plane into a catastrophic crash. The Corsair's menacing asymmetric stall was soon quelled once the aerodynamic forces at play were fully deciphered. The root of the trouble lay in the fighter's massive propeller blades, which, as they cleaved through the air, generated a corkscrewing blast of prop wash. This turbulent airflow caused a mismatch in lift across the wings, with the left wing giving way first, and rapidly so. Overcoming this treacherous stall, however, proved to be a daunting challenge. Approaching the deck, the Corsair would adopt an aggressive nose-up posture, angling as steep as 17 degrees. At the sluggish speeds required for landing, and with the aircraft pitched in such an unconventional attitude, its control surfaces were virtually ineffective in the moments that mattered most. Engineers from Vought and Navy analysts, deep in the throes of the carrier trials, hit upon a solution. They needed to reduce the airflow over the good or starboard wing, aiming to make both wings forfeit lift in unison. The remedy involved the installation of a spoiler or stall strip to the leading edge of the starboard wing, positioned just beyond the reach of the gun ports. This unassuming gadget, a mere 6 inches in length and 3 inches wide, disrupted the aerodynamic integrity of the right wing enough to align its lift characteristics with those of the left. From that point forward, the Corsair's stall behavior became predictable, stalling symmetrically with grace. In the latter months of 1942 and into early 1943, sailors took to retrofitting Corsairs already in the field with makeshift stall strips carved from blocks of wood. Meanwhile, production lines at Vought, Goodyear and Brewster incorporated factory-fresh metal stall strips into each new bird rolling off the assembly line. The F4U Corsair, initially facing challenges for carrier operations, was primarily adopted by Marine Corps squadrons for use from island bases, leveraging its strengths without the complexities of carrier landings. However, through a series of upgrades and feedback from field use, significant improvements were made. Increasing the air pressure in the landing gear struts minimized touchdown bounce, and replacing the birdcage canopy with a bubble canopy enhanced pilot visibility. The breakthrough in carrier operations came from the British Royal Navy's Fleet Air Arm, which developed a curved landing approach technique that greatly facilitated carrier landings and was later adopted by the US Navy. Despite these improvements, landing the Corsair could still be problematic for inexperienced pilots. Ultimately, these enhancements allowed the Corsair to fulfill its potential in combat scenarios. In February 1943, the first squadron of Vought F4U Corsairs landed with VMF 124, ushering in a new era for the Marine Corps in air combat. Initially, their missions left room for improvement, but these formidable gull-winged fighters soon became the mainstay of the Marine Corps shore-based air force, quickly outpacing the venerable Grumman F-4F Wildcat. Pilots faced the daunting task of mastering the Corsair's tricky landings, a fresh risk in the already dangerous Pacific Theater skies. Yet these pilots didn't just adapt, they conquered, pushing the limits of the iconic bent-wing fighter. The squadron's entry into combat spotlighted Lieutenant Kenneth Walsh as the first Marine ace flying a Corsair. Despite limited hands-on time with these new birds, Walsh and his squadron mates dove into action, a raw mix of skill and determination against the odds. Time was a luxury they didn't have for thorough training. The battlefield's urgency called them to action for escort missions, tasks the Wildcats couldn't handle due to their restricted range and combat power. The Corsairs, along with P-38 Lightnings, were the only aircraft capable of providing the necessary long-range cover. As front-runners, VMF 124 pilots were pivotal in crafting the tactical playbook, setting the stage for subsequent squadrons to maximize these powerful fighters' potential. Walsh quickly recognized the strategic advantage of altitude, where the Corsair could dominate the Zero. He also learned the danger of low-speed dogfights against the Zero's superior maneuverability under 300 miles per hour. Bit by bit, the cornerstone strategies of Corsair combat were established, shaping the aircraft's legacy in aerial warfare. Walsh's trial by fire took place on April 1, 1943, over the expansive skies of the Russell Islands in the Northern Solomons. For 2 exhaustive hours, Walsh and his squadron of Marine F4Us patrolled their sector until they handed off the watch to the incoming P-38 Lightnings. No sooner had the sleek fighters taken over than they walked into an enemy trap. With the Lightnings under threat, Walsh didn't hesitate. He rallied his squadron, aborting their homeward-bound trajectory to plunge back into the maelstrom, standing shoulder to shoulder with the embattled P-38AS. In the ensuing tumult, a fierce dogfight unfolded. The Japanese, fixated on ambushing the Lightnings, were blindsided by the Corsairs' sudden descent. Walsh, spotting his chance, lined up for a deflection shot against a Zero, his attempt whisked past, a near miss. Yet it was his wingman who delivered the killing blow, igniting the enemy aircraft in a blaze that marked their first victory. Undaunted, they approached a second Zero. This time, Walsh's aim was true. His bullets found their mark, tearing through the enemy with unforgiving precision, sending it spiraling down in a fiery trail of destruction. With deadly new experience in hand, Walsh was soon to etch his name into the annals of aerial combat on the morning of August 30th. In a sky swarming with hostility, he would single-handedly engage with a vast force of 50 Japanese aircraft. The day started out routinely, with a mission to escort bombers destined to strike at the heart of enemy bases on Bougainville. Yet Walsh's Corsair soon betrayed him with engine troubles. He was forced to separate from his wing and make an emergency landing at the advanced base in Munda, where he swiftly commandeered another Corsair, determined to rejoin the fray and complete his mission. Alone yet undaunted, Walsh pushed his aircraft to its limits, hoping to reunite with his squadron. Fate, however, had other plans, drawing him into a pivotal confrontation. Surrounded by a vast formation of over 50 Zeros, intent on decimating B-24 bombers, Walsh found himself the lone American fighter in a sprawling, scorching aerial battle. Yet in this dire moment, he held a singular advantage. They didn't know he was there. With deadly precision, he dispatched 2 of the enemy fighters, carving a path through the chaos. On his journey back, a distress call from other B-24s ensnared in combat redirected his course. Rising to the call, Walsh once again proved his mettle by downing another 2 Zeros in a series of devastating bursts of fire and high speed. However, victory did not come without cost. In the heat of battle, one of the Japanese fighters managed to land a crippling blow to Walsh's Corsair. Demonstrating remarkable calm and resolve under pressure, he ditched his failing aircraft into the water. This moment of sheer survival instinct marked his 3rd perilous water landing within a mere 6 months. For his extraordinary valor and skill during this monumental engagement, Walsh was bestowed with the Medal of Honor. Walsh's prowess in the skies not only cemented his status as a legendary ace, but also contributed significantly to the development of the Corsair combat doctrine. Through his actions, he dispelled the early misgivings about the Corsair being a potential death trap. Instead, he showcased the aircraft as an implacable force to be reckoned with, a testament to its remarkable capabilities. Now proven and familiar, pilots who used to dread the Corsair turned the machine into a true killer, tearing through the skies, its blistering speed and heavy-duty firepower giving them the upper hand over Japan's Zero fighter. The F4U quickly earned its stripes, knocking enemy planes out of the sky left and right. When the Corsair zoomed past at breakneck speeds, its wing-mounted intake sang a unique tune. The Americans swore the Japanese called it whistling death, though some records throw a wrench in that claim, suggesting the Japanese actually called it the Sikorsky. Initially, it was the Marines' ride of choice until the Navy joined the fray in 1943. By 1944, this bird was greenlit for carrier ops, teaming up with the Hellcat to shield US ships from kamikaze fireballs. But the Corsair wasn't just a one-trick pony. It doubled down as a fighter bomber, delivering crucial support to allies digging in their heels across the Pacific theater. The Central Pacific and the Philippines also saw this workhorse doubling as a fighter bomber. By 1944, Marine pilots started leveraging the F4U's punch in close support roles during beachhead assaults. By 1945, the Corsair had morphed into a bona fide mud fighter, taking the fight to the ground with an arsenal that included high-explosive bombs, napalm and rockets, muddying up the battlefield. This aircraft played a pivotal role in the gritty battles for Palau, Iwo Jima and Okinawa, becoming key in the continued success of Allied efforts in the Pacific. As the Corsair, now dubbed Whistling Death, became increasingly critical in American operations, a pair of Marine pilots executed a heart-racing maneuver, narrowly surviving a head-on clash with a Japanese fighter in the thick of kamikaze threats. These missions by Japanese pilots, turning their aircraft into deadly projectiles against Allied forces, led to a ramp-up in defenses, including dense fighter patrols and a robust network of radar pickets and anti-aircraft artillery. On the morning of May 10, 1945, Captain Kenneth Walsh and First Lieutenant Robert Klingman soared into the sky in their Vought F4U Corsairs for a combat air patrol mission. Stationed 10 miles from Okinawa's Kadena airfield, with 2 wingmen at their sides, they were poised for action. Walsh, with his sharp vision, spotted vapor trails high above their formation and signaled to ascend. With their wingmen inexperienced in such high-stakes engagements, Walsh and Klingman advanced alone. Climbing beyond 38,000 feet, they set their sights on a Kawasaki Ki-45. The enemy aircraft attempted a northern escape, pushing its throttle to the limits. However, the relentless Marines, in a daring display of strategy, burned through half their ammunition to lighten their load and boost their speed. This bold tactic allowed Walsh to bridge the distance between them, hammering the Ki-45 with all he had left. After a fierce exchange, the Japanese fighter bore the brunt of their assault, its right wing battered and its right engine engulfed in flames, a testament to the Corsair's might and the pilot's unwavering resolve. With his guns jammed solid in the cold, thin air, Lieutenant Klingman faced a daunting challenge. But surrendering to fate wasn't in the cards for this determined Marine. He hatched a bold plan to take down the Ki-45 with nothing but the spinning blades of his Corsair's propeller. The Whistling Death had the most enormous propellers in the war, and they were about to be put on the offensive. While Walsh played the decoy, darting alongside the enemy to draw their fire, Klingman barreled in from behind. As the Japanese gunners turned their attention to him, he made his move, clipping the Ki-45's rudder with a precise strike from his propeller. But a single hit wasn't enough to seal the deal. Klingman, fueled by sheer will and not a hint of hesitation, dove back into the fray for 2 more passes. With each daring maneuver, he carved through the enemy aircraft's tail, finally cleaving off the rudder and right stabilizer. Robbed of control, the Ki-45 spiraled into a death dive, plunging into the South Pacific, a stone's throw from Okinawa's shores. Despite his Corsair's battered wings and bullet-riddled engines, Klingman pulled off a miraculous landing, gliding to safety with the engine dead. The wounded bird was not only salvaged, but returned to the skies to fight another day. For their bravery, both Rooser and Klingman were honored with the Navy Cross. Klingman's Corsair, dubbed the Angel of Okinawa, soared into legend, a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who flew her. The tale of the Corsair's wartime achievements is nothing short of spectacular. By World War II's end, Corsairs had claimed 2,140 Japanese planes, incurring just 189 losses, a staggering 11-to-1 kill ratio that highlights the Corsair's aerial dominance. These warbirds executed 64,051 sorties, with a mere 15% from carriers, illustrating their broad deployment across Allied forces. Their ground assault was formidable, dropping over 15,500 tons of explosives, constituting roughly 70% of the bombs deployed by US fighters during the conflict. This highlights the Corsair's crucial role in both ground support and strategic bombing missions. Dubbed Whistling Death, the Corsair was both feared for its lethality and revered for its efficiency. Outpacing the F-6F Hellcat and narrowly trailing the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt in speed by just 13 miles per hour, its superior performance was clear. The Corsair's edge was honed by its supercharged engine, peaking in speed at 20,000 feet, a full 10,000 feet lower than the Thunderbolt's optimal altitude. Despite sharing the Pratt & Whitney R2800 double Wasp engine with its peers, the Corsair's design and tactical use solidified its iconic status. Emerging as a veritable legend, the Vought F4U Corsair transcended its World War II origins, the sole fighter from the era to continue production post-war. Serving the Navy and Marine Corps into the 1960s, it carved an indelible niche in aviation history,